Alright, hello everybody, my name is Critter. Welcome to Beyond the Desk, episode 2. Yeah, episode 2. Decent amount to talk about today. We have the PGL Major that just went on. Haven't talked about that at all, except for my predictions, which... Rest in peace, everything. Like, Jesus, this Major, man. Just fucked everybody up with those. And then we actually have some news on the iBuy Power ban. They actually had their ban lifted by ESL, so we're going to be getting into that after the Major. But, yeah, we're going to start out with the Major here. I mean, who could have thought that the final, not only Gambit winning the Major, but the final being Gambit versus Immortals. You know, eliminated, we had FaZe going 0-3. Nobody could have seen that coming. They were actually favored to go very far in this tournament, at least to the semifinals, and we actually saw them going 0-3, dropping to Big, Mouse, and Flipside Vega Squadron going 0-3. That was, that's not really a surprise. That was kind of expected, but FaZe, the one tournament where they needed to show up, the one where they really needed to go and just kick ass, the Major, one of two of the year, the second of the year actually, this is the last one this year, assuming Valve stays on their 2-a-year schedule, and they go 0-3 to 3 teams that just aren't that great. You know, that being said, respectively, Big did go 3-0 in the Swiss system, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're an amazing team. FaZe really should have beat them, and they failed to. Another two that are surprising, one more than the other, is G2 and Na'Vi. Na'Vi losing to G2, Immortals, and Fnatic. 3 decent teams, but you would have expected to see more than just beating Flipside in the Major from Na'Vi, who have previously made 2 majors in the past. You know, regardless, there are different lineups, but this Na'Vi looked strong until recently, pretty much. I mean, really, actually, after ESL New York, they really started to go a bit downhill. They kind of plateaued, but I don't think anybody really expected to go out 12th place. G2, though. G2. This is a team I had in my 4 to make it to the final. The 4 possibilities, along with FaZe. But fucking, this Major is this Major. G2 lost Gambit, which they won the Major, so I guess that's not that bad. But nobody really expected that. Astralis they lost to, respectively, and Fnatic, who, to be completely honest, they should have beat. Fnatic really hasn't looked like old Fnatic. It's the same lineup. They switched back after the whole Godsent shenanigans, all of that. That didn't end up well, so they ended up sending the players back to where they came from, and we have the original Fnatic lineup that we had when they won the Majors, the previous 2 they won at least. But this team just has not really been on top. Fnatic just has not been on the level they've used to be, and you really would have expected G2, who's been winning a lot recently, to beat them, and we actually saw them go, if I look at the score, if I can find the score here, 16-10. So it wasn't a smash, but they still lost by 6 rounds there, barely getting into the double digits of 10. Looking at their other losses, you know, we saw them go 16-6 to Gambit, and then who else did they lose to? Astralis, which is completely expected, honestly. Astralis is favored to win, but they went 16-6. Again, they really should have had more than just 6 rounds of that. So G2 just completely slumped. Not really sure what was happening with them. Cloud9 finally didn't drop out of a Major. They dropped out in the group stages, but at least they got 2 this time. They really have never been able to. They usually are the ones who go 15-16 out of the Major, or bottom, 5. But this time they actually did make it to 9th place, placing against North and Mouse Sports, losing to Big, G2, and Virtus Pro, which, to be completely honest, they should have beaten Virtus Pro there. They were just all over the place. They were in a huge slump, and they just did not do well in that match. Really threw it away. Fnatic, Immortals, Virtus Pro, Astralis, North, SK, Big, and Gambit. Those are who our legends are. Those are who were left. Expectedly, Astralis, SK, North, Immortals. Those were expected to be legends. Even maybe Fnatic. But the one that really stood out here, even the two that stood out, sorry, was Gambit and Big. People really did not see them getting in over, you know, a FaZe, a G2. Even a Na'Vi or a Cloud9 was expected to get over Big and even probably Gambit. And those were the two teams. The two that were unexpected were the ones that ended up going 3-0. Big beating... They weren't beating crap teams either. They beat FaZe, Cloud9, and SK. That's who Big beat to get into the final 3-0. Gambit, little bit of an easier ride for them. They beat Mouse, G2, and Virtus Pro, who compared to Big's lineup wasn't that great, but still a hard field to beat. I mean, we see SK, the best team in the world, rated right now, and I think they definitely put on a fight to prove it and defend their title in this major. They didn't make it to the finals, but they definitely put up a fight. You know, only losing 46 rounds when everybody else was losing, you know, 54, 53, 55, 57, 66. They definitely put up a fight. And, you know, they went 3-1 in the qualifier. But they ended up losing the one best of one there to Big, and eventually went out to Astralis 2-1 in the quarterfinal. Going down to the quarters, though, the playoffs, sorry, is the two groups. We had Gambit, Fnatic, SK, and Astralis. The group from hell. You know, you had SK and Astralis playing each other in the quarterfinals. And Astralis just absolutely dominated SK, 2-0ing them. The second map they played was just an absolute smash. If we go, where are those matches posted? Does it not? Here we go. You know, 16-12 was close on cash, but Overpass, Astralis just bent SK over 16-6. SK only picking up 5 rounds on their CT and only 1 on their T side. And they just got absolutely smashed by Astralis. You know, despite having coldzera having the godlike performance that he had this time around, they weren't able to beat out Astralis. And right after that performance, everybody thought that this was going to be major number 2 for them. 2 in a row. They're going to follow in the footsteps of SK and Fnatic and be the third team in CSGO history to win 2 majors in a row. Then the Gambit and Astralis game came, and they just absolutely... Gambit, you know, Astralis put up a great fight. There were 3 great maps to watch, but 16-10, Gambit won Overpass, which Astralis smacked SK on. Just absolutely handled them. 16-6 was the score for the Astralis versus SK in the quarterfinal of the match before. So, you know, I guess Gambit, respectively, could have seen, like, this is how they just played, this is how we're going to be able to counter them, but really unexpected that Gambit would beat Astralis in this tournament on Overpass. Astralis, respectively, 16-8 on Inferno, really took them on that. They really looked like they had shut Gambit down and that they were going to win 2 in a row and move on 2-1 into the finals. But then Train came, and Gambit beat them 16-12. Astralis only able to pick up 6 rounds on each side and never really able to string anything together because Gambit was just absolutely dominating them. You know, we had Mo having a ridiculous map on specifically Overpass. He just ripped them to shreds. And Adren were just the 2 star players in that match, just running around and just fucking them up. anywhere they went, they were able to dominate. It doesn't matter where in the map they were, what guns they had. They were all over the place, and they were just dominating Astralis. And those two players were key to the victory to get into this final. Immortals, not nearly as hard as a ride. They had Big, North in Virtus Pro along with them in their group. Big, nobody really expected them to get out of the best of threes. They did very well in the best of ones, going 3-0, but once it came to the best of threes, nobody really thought they were going to make it out of it, and they were correct in that. Immortals 2-1ing Big, 19-17 in Overpass. That is the one map Big won on Cobblestone, but then Inferno, Big lost 16-7, and then Immortals won Train 16-14. So Big definitely putting up a fight, but Immortals proving that they were the better team in that. North, not really sure what happened with them. They looked very strong. A lot of people thought they were going to beat VP here, especially in the state that VP's in. Being in the slump that we've seen them in the previous tournaments, going 0-3 at Cologne. But instead we saw VP 2-0 North, 16-9, 16-10. North really just never showing up, and right now there's actually rumors that they're going to be benching Magisk. Which I don't know if I agree with. He didn't really seem like the problem in that tournament, or really any of their tournaments. He actually has been a decent player, so not really sure where those are coming from or what the reasoning behind that is, if it's true. So the semifinals of this group, Astralis, sorry, not Astralis, Immortals VP. After seeing what VP did to North, this is like, alright, Immortals, you have a good run. You've had a good run, you guys. The first major, semifinals. This is a damn good run for you guys. I give up, I'll cave. Everybody thought this is VP's game. They went through 3-1, I believe it was, in the 3-2. Sorry, they went 3-2 in the Swiss system, and then 2-0 North. Everybody kind of expected them to, not exactly 2-0. People did think it was going to go to 3 maps, 2-1, but a lot of people thought it was going to be in favor of Virtus Pro, including myself. I finally caved and gave this one to Virtus Pro on my predictions, but turns out CSGO gods hate me, and VP got smashed. There's nothing, no other word other than smash. 16-5 on Inferno, and then 16-11 on Mirage, so not too great from VP, not great at all. I mean, they did make semifinals, so they did do very well in those tournaments, don't get me wrong, but to go 16-5 and 16-11 to Immortals, who have this is their first major, they never even made a major before this tournament, is definitely surprising. Surprised a whole bunch of people. And then, yeah, the final, which I'll admit was probably one of the best finals I've ever seen in a major. The last major, Astralis VP, that one was very good, and it was close. These probably not equal with these, but up until this major, you really didn't see many 3-map finals. A lot of them were 2-0, just easy one-sided games that would just, leave you, bored almost. You'd see these games, people just getting smashed. It was like, all right, this is over. This is over. In the last map, they got manhandled, and they're getting handled again in this. I mean, that's what you saw with the Luminati SK lineup, just absolutely smashing through the 2 majors. I mean, that they won. They had Liquid in the MLG one, and that was just no contest. The one before, I believe it was Navi they had, and again, no contest, just absolutely smashing through the competition. And, we're finally in the last few majors. I believe the Envious major, DreamHack, I believe the DreamHack major did go to 3 maps, but it wasn't as, close and tight as these maps were on the last 2 majors. 16-4, that was the Smash Immortals, so that one, Gambit were putting up a fight. They just weren't able to get those rounds together. But 16-11 and 16-10, and those maps were close to the entire match. Gambit did take a pretty decent lead on Inferno in the beginning. I believe they did go up 8 rounds, but Immortals immediately just fought right back in, and it was close going through the entire map. Same thing with Train. Immortals actually led that, I believe, to start it out. So, very close, very back and forth. A whole lot of awesome plays. A specific one is the Gambit player Doja. I butchered his name there, Jesus. Instead of pushing the two players in pit, because he knew they were going to be in pit on the A site after they planted, he couldn't win the round. It was too late to get in, kill the players, and defuse, but he knew that he could kill those players by dropping a nade, just dunking it in the pit in the corner, would drop the players low enough so the bomb blast would kill them and they'd lose their guns, and that actually was one of the plays that led to Gambit's win. So, just some awesome Counter-Strike coming out from both sides. Both teams having amazing plays, amazing setups. If you haven't watched it already, I'd highly recommend going on and watching. I'm not going to play any clips on the show because, of course, copyright and that kind of stuff, which is why I don't show any of the clips, because that's a pain in the ass. I know fair use would probably come to play for most of them, but I don't like dealing with it, and pretty gray area, the YouTube copyright, so sorry. But, yeah, Gambit ended up coming up 2-1. Rightfully so, too. It was not a smash. It wasn't, Immortals got a better group, so it ended up being a Tier 1 versus a Tier 2 team like the MLG was. These were two teams that 100% deserved where they were. They played hard, they beat a lot of people, and they had the work to get into this final, and then they had to work even harder to win. Zeus finally carrying a team to this major and being able to put this together. Both these teams, there's just so much to talk about. I don't even know where to start. Starting with Gambit here, Zeus specifically has been trying for a very long time. Actually, almost exactly a year ago, just a little over a year, July 6th, he tweeted out, I'm never giving up until I win a motherfucking major. And July 22nd of 2017 is when he finally did it. He had made it twice to finals with Na'Vi. He got kicked from Na'Vi, formed with his Gambit team who have not been looking good. They placed 6th in their premier bracket. Not a professional bracket. They did not qualify for EPL. They play in premier and they placed 6th. So nobody expected Gambit to be able to push into this region and really play as well as they did, but they just came out and just out of nowhere blindsided the competition. Zeus, the IGL, really putting together a fantastic team. Mo and Adren just dominating, both of them having very high HLTV 2.0 ratings, both of them in the green for every map, I believe. I think Mo may have dropped down into the just below green, so the 1.0 or 1.11, I think was his low of the final, but that's still fantastic. Adren actually ending up with the MVP by HLTV, and then just everybody else having the best games of their careers. There's no doubt about it that these were the best games of Doja's career, Mo's career, Adren's career, basically everybody's career. This was the best of their time playing, at least Counter-Strike Go. Immortals, this is a team that has never made a major before. They finally qualified for this major, and instead of going out in groups, we finally know what a major tastes like, we're going to work hard, we're going to make it to the next one, we're going to slowly work our way up. They said, fuck that, we're getting out of groups, we're getting out of quarters, we're going to make it through semis, and we're going to fucking go 2-1 and take a map in the finals. So, a fantastic storyline for both of these teams. Not really too much more to talk about, though. I feel like I'm rambling way too much with the major, so I'm actually going to move on now to the ex-iBuy Power guys. Article on HLTV here, just to showcase all these tweets. We do see, we finally saw ESL, I believe it was today. Yeah, it was today. Announcing that iBuy Power, the ex-iBuy Powers players who were caught match fixing, will be unbanned from play in ESL, and that they will be finally implementing rules that clearly define the punishment for what they did. They updated the cheating to allow a ban between 2 years and a lifetime, depending on the age and level of the player and the nature and size of the tournament the player cheated in. So they are going to consider how new this player is and how big the tournament that they cheated in was. So if you're going to be cheating in a $200 one-day thing, you're going to receive probably the minimum 2-year punishment instead of the lifetime ban. But if you go and you end up at like Cologne or Katowice in a $250,000 Premier level tournament and you end up cheating, you better be ready to never play Counter-Strike in ESL or most leagues ever again, because you are probably going to be receiving a lifetime ban. Probably even a lawsuit for trying to cheat out a tournament of $250,000 purse. Finally, though, the one that everybody's been really waiting to see is the match fixing and betting fraud. So, previously, which is the reason, by the way, because you're going to do the math on this, and it's not really going to add up to why XIVP would be unbanned, but the results of match fixing or betting fraud now is a 5-year ban unless significant mitigating factors in line with the ESIC anti-corruption code or in presence of aggravating circumstances. So something that can really justify, like it has to be solid justification to not ban or reduce the ban duration. You will receive a 5-year ban. 5 years from competition play is what your suspension is going to be for match fixing and betting fraud. And you're probably doing the math in your head. You're like, all right, iBuyPower was banned in 2014 for cheating in Katowice 2014 with match fixing and betting fraud. It has not been 5 years. It has been just about 3, give or take a few months, but definitely not 5 years. And the reason for them being unbanned is because there were no clearly defined rules, actually no defined rules at the time that specifically mentioned match fixing and betting fraud. I believe there were some gray area rules about betting on your own game, but it was, maybe a disqualification for the tournament at max. Maybe even, probably the max that you would get according to, betting on your own game would, get disqualified from the tournament. That's about it. What happened instead was Valve wanted to make an example out of these guys, and ended up putting indefinite bans on them. So they weren't necessarily lifetime. They were indefinite. So until Valve really decided what they wanted to do with them, and that turned out to be lifetime. That's like Valve's way of saying, yeah, you're never playing again. So we're finally actually seeing ESL unbanning these players. Now, whether or not that means Valve is going to unban them is a completely different story. And according to these rules, of course, if ESL hosts another major, these players won't be able to participate because of their bans from Valve-sponsored tournaments implemented by Valve themselves. But they will, though, be able to participate in ESL tournaments. So they will be able to play in Katowice, Cologne, all the IEMs. We can see them in California playing. We'll be able to see them playing in New York. So all of these tournaments that you weren't previously allowed to play in, they will finally have access to. And we do have 3 tweets coming up from Days, Brax, and AZK, interestingly enough. Which is going to be an interesting player to look at, being that he's currently playing Overwatch professionally. So starting out with Days, he had to, thank you everyone who fought for us and argued upon our behalf. So I really doubt without you guys that this would have been possible. So Days not really saying anything about his future or giving any kind of hints. He's just, thanking everybody. He's ecstatic for this. Finally happened for him. Going on the swag, though, this is definitely an interesting tweet, because he tweeted, "Woke up to some good news, now it's time to prepare." So it definitely seems like he's going to be going and playing competitively, but he doesn't say exactly where. Now, we know he is contracted to Cloud9, but the Cloud9 lineup is currently full. They have 5 players. Automatic, Nothing, Shroud, Skadoodle, and Stewie 2K, and we haven't heard anything about anybody being dropped. We have heard rumors about Shroud retiring. He said it himself that he was thinking about it, but he hasn't made any formal announcements that that's what's going to be happening yet. I have seen some speculation that Swag's either going to be replacing, Shroud if he retires, or even Nothing, but based off of their performances lately, especially in the majors, it seems very unlikely that Swag's just going to slide right into the Cloud9 lineup, just like that. So it's going to be interesting to see what Cloud9 does with him and where he's going to be able to go, if anybody actually picks him up. Now, AZK, another interesting one, because like I just said, he's playing Overwatch professionally for Team Liquid right now. So he's currently contracted to Liquid under an Overwatch player contract. What the contract specifically says is secret, I don't know, but he's currently playing for them, playing Overwatch professionally. And his tweet was, "I never thought I'd live to see this day. Thanks to everyone who made it happen." So again, very similar to Dazed. Doesn't really indicate where he's going to be going. Now, in previous interviews with him, we've heard Dazed make some statements saying that he's talked to him, like, hypothetically about this situation. And I think there have been some other interviews with him in the past, but he had specifically said that if he was unbanned, he probably would not play Counter-Strike again. So it's going to be interesting to see if he holds true to that and stays with Overwatch, or if he's maybe even going to come back to Counter-Strike. So we will 100% have to see with that. Would not be actually bad to see him potentially end up in the Liquid lineup, who got just absolutely destroyed out of the major, didn't even make it to the major. They made it to the qualifier, but other than that, they got smashed out of that, didn't even make it to the group stages. So I do believe we're going to be seeing some changes in that team along with Optic. Nothing really announced yet, but we could see, Dazed, Swag, and potentially even AZK in those two teams, depending on who decides to actually come back to the competitive scene. And right now, it looks like only Swag's the only one who has really announced that, or hinted towards coming back to play competition CS. Dazed, I believe, will probably stay in the analytics role sort of thing for himself there. So yeah, that is really the iBet Power thing. I think this is great. They've had their punishment. There really wasn't anything defined that says technically they couldn't do it. Now, whether or not it was morally correct, no, they shouldn't have done it. But according to the actual rules, there was nothing that says they couldn't. So that was the problem with the ban, and I completely sympathize with them in that, they should have received some sort of punishment, don't do that sort of thing. But a lifetime ban, banned for over 3 years now, is a little bit excessive, and it's definitely time to see their return to the scene. Hopefully, I would love to see their return to the scene in some form. Dazed, I think, is a fantastic analyst, belongs on the desk there. We've seen Swag play for Cloud9 in a couple tournaments, smaller NA tournaments, and he's absolutely just dominated. And then AZK, as much as I would love to see him come back, I doubt we're actually going to see him. He's probably going to stick with Overwatch. But 100% agree with his unban. It is far overdue, and it is going to be interesting to see where this goes. But yeah, that is going to be the end of this episode, guys. Thank you for watching Beyond the Desk. Make sure you subscribe to Gamaniac, check out our social media, and our website, GamaniacEsports.com. I will see you guys next time.